Hello there everyone, and welcome back to Napoleon Total War with the Great War mod. We're here with another multiplayer battle. This one is a little bit special because it's an intentionally unbalanced scenario. It's designed by my opponent. I think in hindsight it probably would have been better for me to play as the enemy, because they have quite an interesting disadvantage, and the scenario kind of plays on them being very aggressive, charging forward. So I think it would have been, in hindsight, it probably would have been better for me to play as them. Anyways, what this is kind of a Tannenberg scenario, where we want a Russian force to kind of rush forward and be encircled. And that was the plan of my first setup. Unfortunately, that battle crashed, and I can't fool my opponent twice, so I had to switch it up. So for my first setup, what I had done is very similar to what we have here. So I had the Jaeger troops on the side, and they were going to envelop, as they are being able to stay hidden while deploying or moving. So the enemy can't see them, you can see them hunching down here. So they were gonna move onto the flank. The center was entirely comprised of Landwehr. As he was gonna charge forward, he's gonna be able to hit these guys, and successfully I'm going to lose the battle, because they can't really withstand the firepower of normal troops, because they have lower fire rate, and then they're also less accurate. So they would have been losing, and I would have pulled the troops back, lure him in, having him commit more troops to breaking my center, and then I would have swooped in with the light infantry on the side, pushed in the guard units, and then combined with that we would have broken the enemy. Unfortunately, that did not really work because the battle crashed, and so I had to revise the plan, and that is what we're looking at right now. So the unevenness, which I probably should have gone on first to describe, is the fact that I start with 3 artillery pieces, he only starts with 1. The difference is that I have a lot of reserve units, or a lot of Landwehr, as we can see. I've got 6 of them in the center. And he's got a lot of cavalry to kind of counter that, have a more aggressive playstyle. The first mistake my opponent makes is that he places his artillery piece way far forward, and I only think that they are able to fire a single round of each cannon, because looking at the statistics at the end, or comparing it, he only managed to kill 20 of my troops with one of these batteries, which means that I guess a single shell were able to hit home and actually kill anyone. And if we look at the battery here, it just fired that initial shot, and then it's not able to fire anything. There it goes. It was able to fire one more shot there. Maybe that's the one that actually kills some of my troops. So he's only able to kill 20 of my troops. So I talked about encircling them in my first plan, and in my second plan I decided, you know what, we're gonna switch it up completely. So the scenario was kind of building on the fact that the Russians were gonna be the aggressive ones, but I decided to switch it up, shock my opponent by actually being the aggressive one instead. So I move up my troops to take the hill, and that's gonna cause a pretty chaotic battle. I'm moving up my troops going to be able to actually set up on the hill before my enemy, and is going to be able to lay down fire. The problem with that, and one of the big dangers, is the fact that because of the fact that the troops will fire as soon as the enemy is within range, even if there's a big mountain in between them, means that my troops are going to start off fire a lot into the ground. That's gonna be helped though by the fact that I've got artillery just blasting at the enemy. which I'm currently selecting to fire at this lifeguard unit, which is down here. However, my infantry, as we can see, is just firing straight in the ground. None of the shots are landing. And we're moving up similarly across the map. So what I wanted to do is, it would have been dangerous to commit all troops to the front line on the hill there. There's also a great risk, because the cavalry can ride up really close before they actually come within range. The enemy, my troops, would be shooting into the ground. So the cavalry could have easily charged through, especially also against Landwehr, because Landwehr has such poor fire rate. So cavalry would have been very useful, just cutting them away. So to back that up, we have the second line, which is made up of the Jaeger units, so 2 on either side, 1 on the flank to kind of stop cavalry flank maneuvers. So 1 on each side like that, and then 1 facing inwards, plus the guard units to back it up. The first thing he's actually going to do is he realized that, you know, they're just going to sit there and shoot at each other, and in the long run, that's not going to work. So he actually charges his infantry forward into a bayonet charge, which isn't actually that much of a problem, because the normal line infantry is so much better and has so much better melee stats than the Landwehr, so he's most likely gonna win. It's gonna go a little bit better here because I was able to counter-charge, but you can see the morale of my Landwehr is quickly fading away, and also the troop difference as my charge bonus wears off is telling. Like, they're losing barely any troops, and I'm losing tons. So at this point, 160, 68, 156, and 60, it's falling rapidly. I am starting to fire into my own troops, though, because I realize I'm losing the fight, and I'm not going to lose any sleep over losing a already depleted Landwehr unit. So I'm going to order artillery to fire upon them, to take as many Russians with us as possible. And also I'm flanking, or putting a few of my units here on the side to flank the Russian attacking force. And these guys, normal infantry, good fire rate, good accuracy, close range, they're gonna be able to slaughter what Russians that try to push through. Which there are actually 2 units that tried to push through. Not going to go too well for them. Also, as we had already prepared here, we were already in position before the enemy, means that even though it's a guard unit, I'm actually winning this fight. We can see we've lost 5 men compared to the enemy, which has lost more or less the entire unit. It also the fact that I targeted a lot of artillery on that unit. Let's go closer, take a look here. So a few units managed to get forward, but it's not going to go too well for them. So there's a lot, yeah, the battle is quite hectic, so there's a lot of stuff to cover. Here he's actually going to charge. So he's charging in his Cossack cavalry, which is the only successful cavalry charge he really has. These guys are actually able to kill quite a few of my troops. They're able to rout the Landwehr. So he's charging in his Cossacks. One of the problem though, which is something you have to be very careful with when you got Dragoon units, or units that fire from horseback, they will shoot each other. So you need to be really careful when you tell them to fire at will. So I'm pretty sure he shot lots of his own cavalry. But he was able to send my 2 Landwehr units away, and he also charged up the infantry that was sitting on the backside of that hill. However, as I explained early on, I had backed up my first line with the second line, so any cavalry going through would get slaughtered by the fire of the troops in the back, guard infantry and Jaeger especially. But right now, as it is, oh yes, over here, my Landwehr unit was sitting here. was losing quite rapidly against the Russian infantry unit over here. So I decided to charge them in instead, just to maybe inflict some kills, maybe just cause some mayhem. I think it went better than them sitting shooting it out. And I can replace them with one of the infantry units. So we got one infantry unit over there and one in the flank firing on the Russian troops over here. But as of right now, the Russians have been able to take back 2 points of the hill. So they've been able to take back here, or take control of this area, though at a heavy cost. 2 Cossack units, and it looks like he's actually throwing away these units as well, with the Lifeguard unit in a very bad position. Damn. There's so much stuff going on that I kind of missed what's going the next cavalry charge. So in this cavalry charge is really bad, to the point where it's kind of mind-boggling how bad it went. I was even surprised myself, because it's four units of cavalry that's coming down, that is sending over to attack here. It was, to start off with, a pretty bad attack, because at this point, because he had already claimed this area, I had turned my units to face there. So we have the Jaegers, we have the Guard Infantry. I think this Landwehr, it might be... yeah, it's actually facing towards the cavalry. And then we have this unit also facing that way. So it's probably the worst place in the line where he could charge. He would have made more of an impact actually trying to go on the flank. But any side would have been really hard to actually push through without major losses. But the thing is about this one, it's so bad. It actually goes so bad. So the first unit right here, the first Dragoon unit, rides into complete death. Because it goes up against this Guard Infantry unit and it slaughters it to a man. There's not a single guy that's going to survive out of this unit. And the interesting thing here is, because I asked in the end for him to screenshot his the statistics of his units, it turns out that the Cossacks, they kill about 100 men each, the 2 Cossack units. These Dragoon units kill single-digit amounts of enemies, with the highest unit killing 9. Also, it's Dragoons that are fired well. Same problem as with the Cossacks. I'm pretty sure they're going to shoot down a lot of their own. Anyways, let's this roll on. So he's rolling down his cavalry. I'm guessing he's going straight down to start off with, because that's what the Dragoons seem to be going for. He realizes, as the first one gets absolutely slaughtered, that he needs to change up the tactic. And so he charges, he turns all of them to go for the Landwehr. And we're gonna see how that plays out for him. So the unit over on the right is slaughtered, and now he's sending all the cavalry this way. But you saw there, just that one kind of volley from the Guard absolutely slaughter them. One unit is making its way down towards the Guards, rapidly losing troops. They will make it, but I mean barely. And within seconds, 4 units of cavalry are completely killed off. Now there's still a little bit of a firefight, but without the cavalry to support them, I have a great advantage. I can also pull this guy off, because there's no risk of flank fire. These troops have already lost tons of manpower, and they're dying, so this flank is completely destroyed. And he's gonna pull his troops back, and I'm gonna start pulling my troops forward to cover this area. At the same time, we're putting more focus to attack some of the light troops over here. I'm moving these guys over to push down flanking fire on these. And then we also have this unit moving in. So I got 2 light units pushing towards this. I'm also moving this unit because it's out of shot. It's going to move it here. And here is where it's going to commit all his troops in a final last hurrah in a bayonet charge across here. I'm gonna realize that's the case because all his troops here are spent. He's not gonna commit to an attack here. So the last stronghold is right here. And as I can start to see the charge, I tell all my artillery pieces to attack the ground right here. And we'll have one massive fight going down here. Right now they're actually just firing into the ground here. They're not killing anyone. So these 38 men are going to stay 38. And these 239 are going to stay 239. I think, looks like I did kind of a charge here. Just to get rid of them. And the infantry over there also charged. Let's make sure that we don't miss the charge. So he's got 3 units of infantry. Also note at this point, I realized the victory was certain, so I actually stopped my artillery. I think in hindsight, as I said, I think it would have been a lot more interesting if I was playing the Russian faction, and also maybe lessen it to maybe 1 Russian gun versus 2 German. So we got massive Russian charge coming through. And we have 1 massive melee erupting. So it's 2 units of my infantry. And then there's 3 of his, plus that little small first unit. And he's got his general back to support. And it erupts into a fierce melee. My first unit is actually took heavy damage in the first battle there, but his troops are losing a lot as well. I mostly just actually I kind of knew I was going to win at this point, so I mostly put the artillery behind there to give the fight here, or the view of the fight, some kind of effect, a little bit more effect to it, so it looked better at the end screen. Let's see what else is going on. There's a little bit, looks like a melee fight over there as well. This fight is soon to be over. Heavy losses though on both sides, so we're down to about 200 Germans versus 250 Russians. He's going to move in his general because he notes that my general is now moving up. I moved up my general to fire into these guys and get rid of that unit. He moves his general through. The problem here is though, he moves straight into one of the areas where I've set the shrapnel shot to go in. So I think this is actually his general moving through, and I just want to see what it is that actually kills him.
We have killed their general, sir. Now they must break.
Okay, that wasn't the general. This was the general. So oh damn it! I missed what actually killed him. But yeah, the Russian, once they see the general fall, they're all pulling back, and my troops start to fire even as they're retreating. And quite rapidly, most other units, like we had a little bit of a melee fight going on over here. They actually had the advantage there. There's only 18 men left. But they pull back. The general is lost. And my troops moving forward, chasing them. And the last unit to give out is the light unit sitting in the corner of the map, firing with my light troops, but they also decide, you know what, it's better to fight another day. I was sending in my general to take care of them as well, so it could have been assassinated there. Here's the statistics of this fight. I think we could have worked a lot more on it to make the scenario a little bit less uneven. I think it should have been uneven to force one of the players to commit more rashly. But I think it would have been better, as I said, if I had done it, and also maybe reduced the artillery a little bit, just because artillery is very deadly. It was also compounded, though, by the fact that he lost his artillery very early on. I think if he had still his gun, it would have changed quite a lot, or it would have changed a bit anyways, in terms of how much troops I would have lost. In terms of actually numbers of troops deployed, he deployed 100 men more. I lost about 2/3 of my army, 2,000 men lost. He lost 3,500, meaning only about 200 survived the battle. In terms of friendly fire, we can see that he committed about 600, and roughly similar on my side, where I killed a lot of my own, probably shooting down a lot of my Landwehr units. When we're going over the statistics, we can see that my field guns, high killers. If his field gun was still there, he'd probably have a similar amount, or if it pushed it back. Then we've got the infantry units and the guard infantry units. So they did a lot, were able to kill a lot. You can see the guard infantry losing 30 men over here, 20 men over here, killing 300. So they were definitely good choices. The infantry even got chevrons for their role. And also, it could have been maybe better. You can see the light howitzer did less damage. So I think maybe we could have had 3 light howitzers instead. And the Russians could have had 1 field gun to kind of even it out in a way, but still had forced the Russians to commit to an attack. Then as we go through, we can see some of the units and so forth. When we go down here, we can see come to the Landwehr units. So the Landwehr units did really poorly. They lost most of the men while killing less than 100, sometimes 50 men. I think if we go even further down, we've got 1 Landwehr unit that lost 184 men while only killing 4. So that one did not do well. But otherwise, that's about it, as I probably already showed you the statistics of the Russians. I mean, the most notable thing was the fact that the Dragoons killed single-digit numbers of our men. The Dragoon attack completely and spectacularly failed. Probably because I think partly they shot each other, and also they ran into prepared positions. Cavalry is really vulnerable in this mod, and we saw just how quickly they melt away, especially against such units as guard infantry, backed up by light infantry. But you know, there was 4 units pointing that way in a half circle, and the Dragoons rode straight into that. That's a recipe for disaster. Plus, I probably might have targeted with artillery as well. So yeah. But something to think about for further scenarios. I am hopefully going to do another one with TSJ, where we're going to do the Argonne Forest. I've talked with him about doing Germany versus USA. I thought first about doing USA against Sweden, because he's American and I'm Swedish. Thing is, though, the Swedish troop is not something they're going to focus on. The uniforms are not going to be that special, so I decided against it. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this battle, and hopefully I'll see you guys for the next one. Bye!